She sat in the corner of the metal cage. Her wrists were bleeding from the chains, her back burned from old whip marks. Her legs were thin, her eyes, once full of life, now held nothing. No name, no hope, no future. She was known only as Unit 92F, a slave girl on the desert planet Drek 7. Treated worse than dirt. All around her, alien traders shouted prices. The air smelled like rust, sweat, and pain. Dozens of cages held other slaves, some old, some young, many crying. The market was alive, but not human. A large, slimy alien with 6 eyes called Groton stood on the auction block. "Next one," he barked. "Fresh body, strong muscles, beautiful face. Open the gate." The metal cage opened with a loud hiss. Guards pulled her out. She stumbled onto the stage. Her feet were bare and bruised. Her clothes were torn. Her face was covered in dirt. The crowd laughed. Some spat at her. "She's too skinny." One alien shouted, "She stinks." Another said, "She was royalty once." Groton growled, lifting her chin. "Now she is yours for the right price." No one raised a hand until a voice came, "I'll take her." Everyone turned. It was a human. He stood tall and alone, wearing a dark coat with dust on the shoulders. A light beard covered his jaw. His eyes, cold but calm, were locked on the girl. The alien stared in silence. No humans came to this market, especially not alone. Groton laughed. "You want this broken thing, human?" The man didn't answer. He just walked forward and pulled out a black credit chip. "Paid in full," he said, tossing it onto the table. Groton blinked. That chip could feed him for a year. "Deal," Groton grinned. He shoved the girl toward the man. She fell at his feet. She didn't dare look up. She waited for a kick, a slap, a leash, but instead, he knelt down. He took off his coat. He gently wrapped it around her shoulders. She trembled. She didn't understand. He whispered, "You're safe now. No more chains." Her lips shook. Why? The human looked into her eyes. "Because no one should be treated like this. Not even you." "Even me?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He simply stood and helped her up. Her legs were weak. She nearly fell. He caught her. The crowd watched, confused, silent. It was the strangest thing they'd seen all day. The human walked away with the girl in his arms. He didn't look back. Later, the human's home was small but clean. Soft bed, clean water, warm light. She sat on the edge of the bed, wrapped in his coat, staring at the floor. He placed a plate of food in front of her. Real food, not the slop the traders gave her. She didn't touch it. He watched her. "You don't trust me." She didn't reply. "I don't blame you." Silence. He sat down across from her. "Do you remember your name?" She shook her head. "Then I'll give you one, when you're ready." More silence. He stood up and walked to the door. "You can rest here tonight," he said. "The door's not locked." That made her look up. "No chains?" she asked. "No chains," he said softly. But outside the house. In the shadows of the rooftops, someone was watching. A tall alien in black armor, eyes glowing red. He tapped a communicator. "The girl has been taken," he said. "By a human." A voice crackled through the speaker. "Then kill him, and bring her back." Asterisk. She didn't sleep that night, even though the bed was soft, even though the air was warm, and the door was unlocked. Her body stayed stiffer, eyes wide open. Her mind whispered, "It's a trick. No one frees a slave for nothing. Not even a human." The coat still rested on her shoulders. It smelled like hymn dust, leather, and something calm. When sunlight broke through the window, she sat up slowly. She expected someone to burst in, yell, hit her, drag her back. But nothing happened. Just birds, real birds, outside the window. She had never heard such a sound before. Door opened slowly. She didn't flinch, but her fingers dug into the bed. He entered with a tray. Food again. Hot, fresh. Eggs, fruit, and something that smelled sweet. "You didn't eat last night," he said. His voice was quiet. She didn't answer. "I'm not forcing you," he added, placing the tray on the table. "But you should eat." She eyed him. "Why are you being nice?" He raised an eyebrow. "Why wouldn't I be? You bought me. I freed you." Her voice cracked. "What's the difference?" He didn't speak for a moment. Then he sat down across from her. "I'm not your master. I'm not your owner. You're not here because I want something. You're here because I hate what they did to you." She stared at him like he was lying, like he had to be lying. She whispered, "You're strange. For a human. And you're stronger than you look," he replied. She didn't eat until he left. When she finally tasted the food, her eyes watered. Not because of the flavor, but because she realized how long it had been since her body had felt kindness. After eating, she explored the house. There were no guards. No locks. No cameras. Just plants, books, strange pictures on the wall. One showed a blue planet with green patches. Earth. His home. Another showed a woman, human, smiling, his mate. Her chest hurt. She didn't know why. Later that evening, he sat outside, working on some kind of device, tools in hand, parts spread on the table. She stood at the door, watching. He noticed her, but didn't speak. He let her come closer on her own. Finally she asked, "What are you building?" "A communicator jammer," he replied. "If they're tracking you." "I want to block their signal." She frowned. "Why?" He shrugged. "Because they'll come for you." "Let them," she said darkly. "I'm not afraid to die." He looked up. "But I am." She blinked. "Why?" "Because I don't want to watch them hurt you again." She sat across from him in silence. Then, softly, "What's your name?" "Elias." She repeated it slowly. "Elias." "What's yours?" he asked. She hesitated. "I forgot." He nodded. "Then I'll give you a new one. I don't want a name." "Okay," he smiled gently. "Then I'll wait." That night she slept. Not deeply. Not peacefully, but for the first time in years she dreamed. Not of pain, but of a warm voice, calling her something beautiful. Far away. A message reached the slave lords of Drek 7. She was taken by a human. The soldier reported. The master snarled. Then he dies, and she will remember who she belongs to. Suspense ending. Back in the human's home, the girl opened a drawer. Inside, a photograph. Of Elias. Smiling. With a woman who looked alien, but her face was scratched out. And behind the photo, a strange metal device blinked red. She touched it. Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed in the walls. "Warning. Signal detected," she gasped. "They found us." She woke up screaming, not from pain, from the memory of it. In her dream, she was back in the cage, cold, naked, eyes watching her like knives. She heard the snap of a whip and the sick laughter of her old master. But this time, Elias wasn't there. He didn't come. She sat up fast, heart racing, breath short. Sweat dripped down her forehead. The room was dark. Too quiet. Then came a knock. She froze. "You okay?" Elias asked from behind the door. She didn't answer. "Can I come in?" She finally whispered, "Yes." He stepped in slowly, holding a small light. When it touched her face, he saw at her trembling lips, her soaked clothes, her wide, scared eyes. "Nightmare?" She nodded once. He didn't ask what it was about. Instead, he handed her a dry towel and sat down on the floor, giving her space. "You're safe here," he said softly. "No one can hurt you now." Her eyes stayed on him. "You keep saying that, but what if I'm already broken?" Elias looked up. "You're not broken. You haven't seen my scars," she whispered. He tilted his head. "Then show me." Her hands shook as she slowly lifted her shirt. Her back was a map of pain, deep lashes, burn marks, knife wounds long healed but never forgotten. Her ribs were visible. and her skin was covered in old bruises. She didn't look at him. She waited to hear him say, "Disgusting." Instead, he leaned closer. He didn't flinch. He didn't pity her. He just said, "They hurt you like that." "Because they were afraid of you." She blinked. "Afraid?" "They tried to destroy your body. Because they knew your soul couldn't be owned." That was the first time she ever cried in front of him. The next morning, she wore clean clothes. She braided her hair. She even looked in a mirror for the first time in years. The reflection didn't scare her. She didn't look like a slave anymore. She looked like someone. Still quiet, still haunted, but alive. Elias sat at the table, reading something on a holographic screen. He didn't look up when she entered. "I want a name," she said. He smiled slightly. "Yeah?" She nodded. He pointed to the stars outside the window. "Choose something from out there." She thought for a moment. Then, "Lyra." He looked up. "Why Lyra?" "I saw it once," she whispered, "when I was a child. A constellation. My father showed it to me before they took me." Elias smiled. "Lyra it is." Later she sat by the window, watching the desert winds blow sand over the hills. She asked, "Why did you really save me?" He paused. "That market. I lost someone there once." She looked at him. "A woman?" She guessed. He nodded. "Did you love her?" "Yes." "Did they kill her?" "No," he said. "She sold herself." "What?" "She was part of a peace treaty. Married off to some alien noble. I tried to stop it. She told me not to." Lyra's voice was cold. "So you bought me?" "To make up for her." "No," he replied. "I bought you because no one else would." That night, Lyra helped set the table. She even laughed once when Elias burned the bread. But deep in her mind, something still itched a whisper she couldn't ignore. And when Elias stepped out for air, she opened the storage room. Inside, weapons. Heavy, advanced, military grade. Not tools a normal man would have, not even a soldier. She picked up a plasma blade. The grip fit her fingers too. Well, she stared at it. And felt something. Return. Something cold, sharp, familiar. She wasn't just a slave. She had once been something else. Suspense ending. As she held the blade, memories flooded back. Training sessions, commands shouted in a foreign tongue, blood on her hands, and one voice. Dark, robotic, clear. "You were our weapon, Lyra. You belong to us." She dropped the blade and stumbled back. Who was she really? And what had Elias just brought into his home? Asterisk, the desert wind howled like a warning. Inside the quiet home, Lyra couldn't rest. She kept glancing at the storage room door, still half open. The weapons inside weren't just random. They were organized, labeled by sector and year. Military. Advanced. She looked down at her hands, still shaking from the blade she'd touched. Why had it felt so natural? Elias returned just after sunset. Dust covered his boots, and his jaw was tight. "You went into the back room," he said, not angry, but not surprised either. She didn't deny it. "Those weapons?" she asked slowly. "You're not just some wanderer, are you?" He sat down. Across from her, "I was part of a human unit special recovery. We rescued prisoners, hunted traffickers, and dismantled black markets. And now?" she asked. "Now I live alone," he said, looking her in the eyes. "Until I saw you." She leaned forward. "Then answer me this. Who sold me?" He didn't answer at first. But then, with a voice low and dry, he said, "His name is Val Trask, half reptilian, one of the most protected slavers in this system. The kind who sells people with memories worth erasing." Her eyes narrowed. "You know him?" "I've been chasing him for 6 years." She stood. "Take me to him." Elias looked up. "Why?" "Because I think I knew him." That night, Elias showed her a hologram. A wanted list. Images floated in the air. Buyers, slavers, killers. And in the center, Val. Trask, Lyra's breath caught. She didn't just recognize the face. She remembered the smell of his breath, the sound of his laugh. The way he gripped her chin like she was a pet, and something more. She had seen him. Afraid, not of her body, of her mind. I know where he is, Elias said quietly. An outpost just past the Red Ridge. He runs auctions in the canyon every moon cycle. Lyra clenched her fists. I want to see his face when he realizes I'm free. Elias hesitated. If you go there, you may not come back. You're not ready for a fight. But Lyra's voice was calm. You don't understand. I think I was trained to fight. I think I was made for it. He watched her. Then we go together. The next day, they traveled by rover across the silent sands. Red cliffs rose like teeth against the yellow sky. As they moved closer to the canyon, Lyra's head began to throb. Visions hit her in flashes, herself, younger, in a silver uniform. Standing with others, all female, all marked. A symbol burned into her shoulder, now hidden under the torn skin. She touched it, and pain flooded her chest. She had not just been a slave. She had once been a weapon. Trained, programmed, owned. Elias stopped the rover just outside the outpost. Guards, with rifles, walked along the ridges. A platform stood at the center, where slaves were displayed and sold. But something was wrong. The auction was already over, and blood covered the ground. Inside the trade hall, corpses were piled like trash. Elias raised his weapon, scanning every corner. Lyra stood still, frozen. At the back of the room, one body sat upright, neck snapped, face frozen in fear. Val Trask. Dead. But carved into his chest, in dried blood, were the words, "She is mine, not yours." Suspense ending. Lyra stepped closer, staring at the message. Then she noticed it, the letter S, in she, written in the same symbol that was once burned into her shoulder. Her knees shook. Someone else was out there, someone who still claimed her, someone who had once owned her mind, and now knew she was awake. The desert wind had stopped. Everything was still too still. Elias scanned the outpost ruins. Burned crates, crushed weapons, torn slave collars tossed in a pile. But Lyra didn't move. She stood in front of Val Trask's body, frozen. Eyes wide, breath shallow. He touched her arm. "We should go." She didn't reply. Her hand was clenched, fingernails digging into her palm. Suddenly, the bloodied wall behind Trask began to glow, a hidden panel lighting up, reacting to Lyra's presence. Elias stepped back, weapon ready. From the panel came a voice, synthetic, emotionless. "Subject 92F, signal confirmed. Directive override in process." Lyra gasped. Her body locked up. Her pupils shrank. She whispered, "No, not again. Lyra." Elias shouted, but she dropped to her knees, trembling, sweating, fighting. Something inside her flashed. Screams. She stood in a silver room, surrounded by other girls. All identical suits, all marked. Their hands glowed with energy. A voice ordered, "Attack." She obeyed. She always obeyed. Until she didn't. Elias knelt beside her. "What's happening?" Lyra grabbed her head. "They're trying to pull me back. To where? To who I was before you found me." Suddenly, the canyon shook. A shuttle appeared in the sky, low, black, silent. A strange symbol marked its wings, a triangle with a circle inside it. Elias cursed. "Private military. Not local. This is deep tech." The shuttle opened mid-air, and 4 black armored soldiers descended fast, landing hard. They didn't ask questions. They opened fire. Elias grabbed Lyra and dragged her behind cover. Blaster bolts lit the stone walls. "Lyra, we have to move." But she wasn't hiding anymore. She stood up slowly, staring at the soldiers. Her eyes glowed red. "I remember now," she said softly. "I wasn't just trained. I was programmed." She stepped forward, calm under fire. One soldier aimed for her chest. She raised her hand, and caught the bolt. Mid-air. It fizzled in her palm. Then she threw it back. The bolt exploded against the soldier's helmet, sending him flying. Elias froze. What the hell? Another soldier charged. She didn't run. She dashed into the attack, moving faster than his eyes could follow. She slammed her knee into his ribs, twisted his weapon from his grip, and fired a clean shot to his shoulder. He dropped. She turned. To the last two. They hesitated. Too late. She spun low, fast, and hit both with a burst of raw energy from her palms. They dropped like broken puppets. Elias stepped out, stunned. Lyra! She turned to him, chest rising, hands still glowing, but her eyes, they were full of fear. Is this who I am? She whispered. He didn't answer. She looked down at the wreckage. The bodies. I didn't think, she said. I just moved. Elias walked to her, gently grabbed her wrist. You're not a weapon anymore, but I was made to be one. He nodded. So was I, she blinked. You? I wasn't always kind, he said. I've done things. Not proud of, but the past isn't what makes us human. Then what does? He smiled. The choice to be better. They walked together through the silent canyon, her bare feet touching blood-stained rock. A small ember still glowed inside her hand. He noticed it. She tried to hide it. He didn't stop her. Suspense ending. As they left the canyon, a small drone rose from the sand, recording the battle, zooming in on Lyra's face, on a distant ship orbiting the planet. Someone watched the footage. A voice spoke. She's active, and worse. She's remembering. Asterisk. They didn't speak for a long time. Not on the ride back. Not when they passed the canyon. Wreckage. Not even when the red sun dipped below the horizon. Lyra stared out the rover's window. Her arms folded, the metal of her seat cold beneath her. Her glowing hand had dimmed, but the fire in her chest hadn't. She had killed 4 men without thinking. She hadn't hesitated, and she hadn't felt regret. Not until now, back at the cabin. Elias cleaned his gear in silence. He moved slower than usual, stiffer. Your shoulder's bleeding, Lyra said. He didn't look at her. I've had worse. She stood in the doorway. You're afraid of me now. No, he said, still not turning. I'm afraid for you. She stepped closer. Why? Because every time you use that power, someone's watching. She stiffened. He turned, finally. I scanned that drone before it flew off. It was military grade, but not any military I know. Someone built it just to track you. Lyra swallowed hard. They knew I'd be there, Elias nodded. Or they led us there on purpose. That whole slaver camp, it wasn't raided. It was cleared. Her voice turned cold. To draw me out. Later that night, Elias opened an old trunk beneath the floorboards. He pulled out a worn datapad. Cracked screen. Password protected. He entered a long string of characters. It unlocked. Lyra peeked over his shoulder. What is that? Intel I stole from a black site years ago. Files about Project Echo, illegal experiments, gene slicing, memory erasure, off-world mind control labs. Lyra whispered, and me? He pulled up a file, subject 92F, her picture, her blood type. Her brainwave map. A note at the bottom, failed. To obey final directive, terminated. Clone status unknown. Her knees went weak. I died. No, Elias said. Someone thought you did. But if they lied about that, what else did they lie about? Outside, a ship passed overhead, quiet and fast. Elias didn't flinch, but Lyra walked to the window. They won't stop, will they? He shook his head. Not as long as you're free. Her jaw clenched. Then maybe I shouldn't be. He walked to her quickly. Don't say that. I'm dangerous, Elias. So am I. I'm made to kill. So was I. Silence. Then she looked at him, eyes trembling. You gave me freedom, but you didn't tell me the price. Elias said, Freedom always comes with pain. But it also gives you the right to fight for yourself. That night, Lyra went outside alone. The stars were brighter than ever, and in the silence, she whispered to the dark sky, "If I was created to destroy, then let me choose what I destroy." Her hands glowed again, this time, not red, but blue. Soft, calm, controlled, far above. In a hidden satellite station, two beings watched her through a dozen screens. "She's stabilizing," one said. Emotionally and energetically, the other nodded. The human did more than save her, he taught her choice. The first voice turned bitter. "That makes her even more dangerous." A finger hovered over a red command button. "Should we retrieve her?" The other paused. Double quotes. "No, not yet." "Then what?" "Let her fall in love first." Suspense ending. Back in the cabin, Elias sat on his bed, flipping through the file again. Near the bottom was a message he hadn't seen before, hidden text under subject. 92F's profile. He read it aloud. "Final asset failsafe is linked to emotional override. If subject forms deep bond with target, detonation may trigger." Elias's hands froze, and slowly, he looked toward the door Lyra had just closed. She didn't sleep that night. Neither did Elias. He watched the screen for hours, staring at the words burned into her file. "Fail-safe trigger. If subject forms emotional bond, the asset self-destructs." It was buried deep in the code. A secret command hardwired into her mind. A final leash. Last weapon. Love wasn't just forbidden, it was fatal. Lyra sat outside on the stone ledge, barefoot under the stars, her hands folded in her lap. She could feel it, something inside her, ticking, a tension beneath the skin, like a countdown she didn't understand. Elias joined her silently, sitting a few feet away. "I know," she said before he could speak. He looked at her. "Know what?" "That I'm not free." She closed her eyes. "They left a trap inside me, a part of my mind, locked behind a door. But now that I feel something for you." Her voice broke. Elias looked down. "They turned love into a weapon." She gave a bitter smile. "Cruel, isn't it?" The next morning, alarms blared across the canyon. A fleet of dark ships broke through the clouds, black as ash, marked with the same triangle and circle symbol. Project Echo had come for her. Lyra didn't run. She stood on the open ground in front of the cabin. Barefoot. Unarmed. But not afraid. Elias loaded every weapon he had. He stepped beside her. "If they take you, they won't," she said calmly. "And if they try?" She looked at him, eyes steady. "Then we burn them." A voice echoed from the hovering ship. "Subject 92F, return to custody, or witness the death of your handler." A targeting drone locked onto Elias's chest. She stepped in front of him. The light on the drone shifted. Yellow. She stepped closer to the ship. The light blinked. Red. She stopped. "I'm not your asset anymore," she shouted. "I choose who I am now." "You have no choice," the voice said. She smiled. "Then I'll make one." She turned to Elias, eyes soft. "Thank you," she said, "for giving me something real." Before he could answer, she kissed him. Soft. Warm. Final. And then she turned away, her body lit with pure energy. Blue, red, gold. She sprinted toward the fleet faster than light, screaming with power. Elias shouted, "Nitrogen monoxide, Lyra!" She didn't stop. In a flash, she launched herself into the air, straight into the command ship. The explosion tore through the sky, brighter than a sun, louder than a god's roar. The shockwave threw Elias off his feet. Everything went silent. Then, darkness. Later, the sky had returned to blue. The ships were gone. The canyon was quiet. Elias stood where she last stood. Burnt sand under his boots. No body. No sound. Just silence. He dropped to his knees. She was free, he whispered. Days later, Elias walked into a far-off village, injured, wounded, quiet. No one knew what he had done. No one knew her name. But at night, he still saw her in his dreams, laughing, barefoot, asking what fruit tasted like. Months later, a young girl stood outside the same canyon. Eyes gold, hair silver. She looked at the cabin ruins and whispered, Home? Behind her, a shadowy figure stood. Human, familiar. Elias? Maybe, but his voice was different. Let's rebuild it.